Sunday, January the 9th, 2011, and I'm about to undertake my first walk of this year, well, my first time out walk anyway. I've chosen Book 2, Walk 24, Lewes via Rodmell Circular, around 9.5 miles of walking. Cracking day, not a cloud in the sky, nice and cold, and the wind that was blowing last night seems to have dropped as well, which means there shouldn't be any interference on this handy cam, though once I get up on the hills, who knows. It's now about 11:05, journey time, well, the distance of the walk's about 9.5 miles, as I say, so I should be done by 4 in order to get the 4:16 back. Five minutes in, entering the arched gateway into South Overgrange Gardens. Which is apparently a fine Elizabethan house built in 1572 by William Newton. Well, there is the house, but unfortunately at the moment it's under renovation, so can't see much of it. Yeah, wind's picking up, so there might be some wind interference, as I suspected. Actually, some very pleasant gardens. Up on the hill there in the background you've got what appears to be the ruins of a castle. Well, having just passed South Over Church, this is now Anne of Cleves' house. For those that are into their history. And from another angle, quite chewed around here generally, actually. The A27 road bridge provides a very good vista. Classic railway, model railway really. Train lines down there. Just hit the car wide track. No blue sign though, as mentioned in the text. But there's the ridge I'll be walking along very shortly. Fantastic. Wooden field gate with accompanying blue sign and a further view of the ridge. Delightful. What a cracking day. Looking back over Lewes and the accompanying vista, water meadows over there. And that's where I'm headed, up there towards the V-shaped footpaths. Interesting feature on the horizon there. Not sure what that is. Quite a lot of wind up here, so I hope it's not interfering too much with sound. Just about to exit the field after 500 metres. Closer inspection reveals that to be Foreman Mill, I would say, without the sails now. Just passing through the hamlet of Kingston, not much more. Headed up this restricted byway. Now stood at the metal field gate, 300 metres further on from the junction, with the windmill in the distance there. And this footpath is described as being potentially muddy. Well, it's not too bad, even after snow thaw and heavy rain over the last few days, because the chalk is absorbing it or washing it off, one or the other. Just on the bend of the left-hand fork of the V, prior to hitting the ridge junction with the South Downs Way. And here's another cracking view. Just gone 12 o'clock, so good progress being made. Delightful. Bet it'll be even better when I hit the top. Just hit the junction with the South Downs Way. Onward progress is that way. Through that gate. Confirmation here on this marker post. Cracking view just from the first cattle grid mentioned in the text. Very windy up here, so probably poor sound quality. Just enjoy the view. It's relatively easy walking along this ancient byway. Great example of soil creep there. Not sure if that's visible on the camera. Big shadow where it is in that bowl. Nearly 200 feet up, 200 metres up here. 600 feet. I'm near the point marked as tumuli on the map, and I just noticed that the coast is visible around that bend, so let's see what that looks like in a second. Yep, there's the coast in the distance and what looks like the start of the Seven Sisters over there. Guess that must be Eastbourne down there. Very hazy, mind you. Looking back at Lewes from the footpath junction marked on the map at Swanborough Hill, just before the 192 metre spot height. Nasty chalk workings over there, rather spoiled a view. I shall be down there by the river later, the Ouse, of which the water there is from the flood meadows. The footpath sign just before the concrete track is actually lying on the floor there. I think it's pretty obvious during this concrete track. And then you follow this concrete track for approximately a mile, headed coastwards, visible there in the distance. Fewer people up here today, even though it's Sunday, which is better for me. Starting to slowly descend now, about 12:35, and on my right, looking west, got the fringes of Brighton there. Now the sea's visible from that's doing up here. Looking down on Rodmell, having just passed through the gate with the white post to its left. I must get myself a GPS or a phone with access to, so I can give coordinates. Well, that's interesting. I'm stood right on the meridian line here. Not sure if you can read that. There you go, meridian line, back at Greenwich. To my left is the Western Hemisphere, to my right the Eastern. And I must say, having just come through it, that the Western Hemisphere is incredibly muddy. So take note. Caused by those critters over there. Let's hope the Eastern Hemisphere is a bit drier. Certainly looks that way. Looks like the owners of the Abergavenny Arms have got a sense of humour. Next to the South Downs Way marker, which we now leave, headed towards the pub, they've erected their own sign by the looks of it. It's 1 o'clock, so very nearly time for me to have lunch anyway. As usual, I won't be going in the pub, but we'll select an appropriate position nearby. This is Mill Hill on the map, or a view from it. Very pleasant it is as well. I'm stood in front of the gates of a property called exactly that. Early January, and it looks like the crows are already in position. Pretty high up nests as well, sign of a good summer, if not a cold winter. There's the suggested lunchtime stop, the Abergavenny Arms, which in fact is set next to a quite busy road. I shall continue down that road, find the local church. So in the village of Rodmell, here's Monk's house, now a National Trust property. It's where the novelist Virginia Woolf used to live, purchased in 1919 apparently, just at the end of the First World War. And then ironically, apparently, she killed herself in the nearby River Ouse during the Second World War. Walked into the River Ouse with a load of stones in her pockets, weighed herself down and drowned in 1941. Anyway, quite a pleasant little village this. Classic scenario here. Entrance to the church there. Church school immediately opposite. And what a delightful little church it is. Perfect place for lunch. Find myself an appropriate bench. There's one there, but it's in the shade. Not appropriate. What a lovely view from the back of the church. Nice resting ground. Unfortunately, that's the only seat there is in the churchyard, so I'll have to take it. Beggars not being choosers. And And this seat has been kindly donated by friends to the memory of Dorothy and Freddie Bleach in 1978. So I should be very grateful to rest my weary legs. Okay, it's 2:15. Lunch has been had at the very nice Rodmell church, and I'm now stood very close to the water treatment works mentioned in the text, and we have a different kind of landscape now, much flatter. Temperatures dropping as usual after lunch. Still very pleasant though. Some cold and hungry little Shetlands, or something very similar. So now back on the banks of the Lewes, walking the reverse direction to that I walked several months ago when I walked from Lewes to Seaford, I think it was. One of the seaside resorts anyway. It's interesting because, as the text says, that Barbican at Lewes is always visible. That's obviously why the Normans put it there. Obviously last time I continued in that direction and ended up going over that hill, if I remember correctly. From this point now it's about 2.5 miles back to the station. That's about an hour's walking, so I should be back well before 4. Fingers crossed. Stiles mentioned in the text next to the sewerage farm or outlet have now become gates. Looking back there at that wooded copse on the hill, can follow the whole walk that I did this morning, all along that ridge. And back down the end there. Delightful. Some kind of wader over there, just on the very edge of my camera's limits. One I'll have to check out later, because I don't know what that is. Right. It's 3:15, and annoyingly I've just missed a train by the skin of my teeth. Now I've got to wait a whole hour till 4:15 for the next one. So that walk took me actually say 11:15 to 3:15 is 4 hours. Glorious walking. Mixture of down and river. So it's book 2, walk 24 completed.